Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Entrefluential Podcast. My name is John Tanner, and I'm your host, along with my son Sebastian Tanner, my co-host. How you doing, Sebastian?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I could be a lot better if this headphone was working properly, but that's the way it is, right? We have a
Yep,
little technical difficulties, and we just roll with the punches,
exactly.
and life is good, right?
Yep.
We don't get flustered by these things. We just move. We just go with our plan, right? We just
Yeah.
improvise and
Try
move
not to
forward.
get flustered at least.
Exactly, exactly. So how was your day, man? I haven't even really talked to you, and
I know. I've
just,
been busy. I got up early
mm-hmm,
today. Um,
taking
I
care
just
of business.
taking care of business, cleaning. Went to the gym twice in the morning for cardio, and then in the afternoon for weights. And I've just been working on the notes for the podcast tonight. Been busy the whole day, pretty much. Just been constantly doing something the entire day. So
Great, great.
good. It's good. You? How was your day?
My day was awesome too, man. I just, it was okay. It was somewhat productive. Oh, so I got a new membership with mastermind.com, and because they were,
Right.
I was on their State of the Union address. It's with Dean
Yeah.
Graziosi, and that's a platform that was owned by Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so I got a free trial. So it's 30 days for free, and then it's like 50. I think it's $50 a month, $47 a month for the platform. And the platform is good for uploading courses. You can host group classes on there. You can
Wow.
upload ebooks on there. So like it does a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really excited because I've been teaching a law class to a couple of attorneys from Columbia, and I'm doing it for free just because I wanted to sharpen my own saw. But I've been teaching
Yeah.
them private coaching for or bar prep for the past year, and then
Wow.
I decided to go back into my old notes from day one of law school and teach them what I learned in law school, starting
Nice.
with legal methods. And so these last two we were holding 3 hour classes on Saturdays, and so we had one this weekend. We had one last weekend. So we've done 6 hours already, and they love it. They love the content. I give them practice questions. And so anyway, the point is that I'm going to go ahead and start creating those classes on this platform, Mastermind. So if anybody's
That's
interested in
great.
learning, if they're thinking about going to law school and they want a taste of it before going to law school, it'll be available on that platform for them. So I'm pretty excited
Wow.
about it.
That's perfect, and that's great that they're enjoying the classes. Everything's going well.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I'm excited, man. I love it. I'm a
That's
natural
great.
teacher, so like I'm in my element.
Yep. Natural teacher, and you were a teacher.
Yeah, that's right. I still am certified, but
Yep.
just
So
choose not to teach kids. I'd rather teach adults.
yeah, exactly. Teach people that want to learn.
Exactly, exactly. So, all right. So let's look at our schedule here, Sebastian. So,
Yeah,
did you bring us a nutrition tip for the day?
I did. I did actually. You want me to just go ahead and get into it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
the
All
the
right.
The
So,
floor is yours, my man.
all right. So this is going to be the first nutrition tip I have for our podcast series. This is limit your sugary drink intake. So basically, what that means is that you want to stay away from all the sugary drinks, all the apple juices, sodas, everything like that. Gatorades, you can opt for the sugar free options, even diet soda as well. But you don't want to have so much of that every single day because studies show that these beverages increase risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. This also applies to people who are not carrying excess body fat as well. So it goes for everyone. And these beverages are uniquely harmful to children as well. So you want to make sure, for parents out there, you want to make sure that your kids are not drinking too many of these sugary drinks. Looks like I'm in here by myself.
Oh yeah, no, I just
Oh,
gave you. I just opened you up so while you were talking, you could have the full screen while you were talking.
oh! I was like, oh, is he gone?
Yeah, it's pretty
So,
cool. So see, I can toggle like different screens. We can do like a close
wow,
up. We can zoom out. You know what I mean? And then
wow.
I could click on this, and then now you have the full screen. Or I could
Oh, I
go to
have the floor.
me.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right.
Pretty cool,
All
huh?
right. So, So yeah, so basically, having these drinks with a lot of sugar in it is just putting your health at risk. So you want to opt for different alternatives like water, diet soda. You can have unsweet tea with Splenda or stevia, something like a natural sweetener. You can even have sparkling water, and you can also add lemon or lime to your waters as well to spice it up and give it a different flavor than what most people don't like to drink water because it's flavorless. I'm the same way. So when I add lemon to it, it makes it taste a lot better, and it
Hmm.
also has its own properties that's really good. That's you can benefit from having the lemon in your water that we won't get into today because I really don't know, to be honest. But it tastes really good. So
So hey, we get that the what drinking water and having a little bit of lemon in it is really beneficial. I read that if you put, and it actually helped me because I was suffering from high blood pressure when I was in law school, and I went to the blood pressure monitor at Publix, and I was in the dangerously high red
wow,
zone, and I was feeling the heart palpitations, like you feel like it's off, and my ears were red,
wow,
and one of my classmates noticed it, and he said, you need to start running, and you need to drink water with lime juice in it. So I started doing that every day. And and listen, this is a Christian podcast, right? So it's a business development podcast, and we're going to interview entrepreneurs so that we can bring their skills to our audience. But this is based on a Christian for a Christian audience, and we're trying to influence people
yeah,
on the benefits of walking a Christian life, right? Because you hear all of this stuff about the regular secular lifestyle out there, but we do things from a Christian perspective. And so I'm going to share a testimony, something that happened with me because of this experience that we're talking about. And it wasn't something that I did. Like I just had a dream when this was going on, when I was suffering from high blood pressure, and I was under a lot of stress at law school. I
yeah.
had a dream that I saw a pair of hands open up. I didn't see a face or nothing, no body, just hands open up, and a dove flew out of the hands and came to
Wow,
me. And then when I woke up, my blood pressure was back to normal. And it was,
wow,
to
that's
me,
amazing.
that's a miracle. It's a
It's a
freaking
miracle.
it's a freaking miracle, and so I've been normal since. Like my blood pressure is normal. And when I went to the
Wow,
doctor a few weeks ago for the first time I've been to a doctor since 2017 because I didn't have insurance, and I went and got a full checkup and everything, and my blood pressure was normal. And he said, "Look, at your age, it's getting to a point where you might have to take a pill in a couple of years, a few years." He's like, "If you eat avocado is it's a positive trans fat or something like that, and
yeah,
it's beneficial to you." So he said, "Start eating avocados every day. Let's do a test and see how it goes in 6 months." So we'll see. I've not been eating it every day. I started, I bought a bag, and then that's gone, and I haven't gone back and gotten more. So like, shame on me for not eating the
shame,
avocados.
shame.
But anyway, so like there was definitely the that dream. I really do believe that there was like a intercession there. It was
Wow, yeah,
a blessing from God. He calmed me down. It could be psychosomatic, man. That's one way of explaining it, is like the mind tells the body what to do. Psychosomatic, and
yeah,
maybe that's what it is. But hey, I saw a dream with hands and a dove, and whatever you want to call it. Whether I think it was from God. If you want to think it's science, psychosomatic, then that's fine too. But all I know is it worked, and so I'm
yeah,
giving God the credit because I believe that He tells us that we have dreams, and He tells us in our dreams what we need for ourselves.
yeah.
So
Exactly. Your dreams can have meaning. Some
yeah,
sometimes people can see the future in a way in a dream. Some
absolutely,
people
a
have talked
hundred
about it
percent,
and they've seen something that's actually happened uh, a few days
right?
later. So it's crazy, and there's something
Yeah,
definitely going on with our dreams that we can receive information that we need to.
absolutely. All right, so going back to your nutrition tip. So, what do you have any recommendations for drinks that like are a little bit more fun for people to drink?
Yeah, so they also have like there's squeezable, there's like fruit punch, 0 calories, kind of like a Crystal Light. They have the squeezable bottles. They also
Yeah,
have that for Gatorade. They have the Crystal Light version. They have the Mios. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but
Mios, no.
they have all kinds of different flavors, and you just squirt it into your water bottle, 2 squirts, and then depending
So,
on around how much water you have,
so what's
and
the what is there any kind of like any kind of health benefit to drinking that stuff? The Mio?
you're saving yourself from drinking a lot of sugary calories, extra carbs,
Oh,
extra sugar, all of that that's already bad for you that are in, like regular sodas,
yeah, yeah.
drinks,
Got that.
lemonades, teas, all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't have
Okay.
any special benefit for you, but it's saving you
Oh,
it's giving you a better option.
that is the better option. Okay, so you have a little flavor, so it adds a little bit of diversity in your drinks other than just plain
Exactly.
water. And then
Yep.
what about how about any like any any protein shakes or like pre-workout drinks? Some people say that those things are not good. Other ones, obviously they sell it because it gives you some boost when you're doing your workout. Do you have any information about those things? The pre-workout
Yes.
drinks like
So, um,
like Creastack?
Creatine, creatine.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so creatine, there's some people that say some bad things about creatine. There's other people that say, for example, like it makes you bloated, it can make you feel different ways. I think it also depends on where you're getting it from, what brand you're getting. I think it can affect you differently because I've tried all different types of pre workouts that have creatine and don't have creatine. Some of them, not all of them, do.
Hmm.
And sometimes you could either do that or you could get the actual creatine in the powder form itself in the bottle. And I've tried that, and personally, I don't think that it's made me feel any negative effects. I don't know all the science behind it, but
Okay.
essentially, it just makes your muscles retain more water because
Hmm.
that's what they need. You should be naturally drinking at least around a gallon a day, especially for people that are working out and trying to be fit. You can even have more than that, depending on your height, size, all of the the measurements, demographics. But basically, it makes you hold on to more water, and so
Okay.
that makes you look more pumped. It's gonna make the muscle look more full because
Yeah.
I'm taking the creatine, and you can also do pre-workouts, and with that, it's, really the caffeine that makes you feel super jittery, makes you get all that energy. There's other things like BCAAs that can be in some, pre-workouts, that's branched chain amino acids, and so all of these things our body naturally produces. The creatine, our body produces about a gram of that per day. The BCAAs, our body produces that naturally, and so basically it just helps give it
Enhance it.
more of what it already has.
A
So
boost.
you can only
Okay.
produce so much per day, so that's why people would, go to get these different products so they could take more, give
Mm.
them a little bit of an edge. But I think it just you can try different brands and see which ones work for you. I've had some of them that make me feel differently, some of them that I don't like. So I think it's just about getting out there, trying different things, and it's also not something that is 100% needed either because, like
Okay.
all supplements, it's just a supplement. It's not supposed to do the work for you. Your body is naturally doing it. It can only do
Okay.
so much, though.
Cool. All right. So if you could give us a link in the description, we'll put the link on there for that liquid that you were talking about. Mimo, is it?
It's Mio. So there's
Mio.
Mio, and then another one that I like is the Perrier sparkling water, the lime flavor.
Oh,
So that's like
Perrier. Yeah.
if you're a drinker, Perrier.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
because they don't pronounce the R. Like they usually leave off the sound of the
oh,
letter in
right.
French, right? Yeah,
Okay, Perrier. Perrier, thank
yeah.
you, thank you. So yeah, so I like the Perrier, the lime flavored sparkling water, especially, if you like
Okay.
drinking, if you like drinking and you want something that's gonna curb it, it's similar to like a club soda. It tastes good, and if you like the lime flavor, that's also another good option.
Cool. So let's throw a link on there,
We'll
Sebastian.
throw
If
a link.
you'll after the show, if you'll send me a link to those two
Yes.
items, then we'll put it in the description for people to check out. Okay.
All right. We'll do.
Awesome. Cool. So listen, the next thing we have on the agenda is to go over these Christian affirmations. Now, this is a card that I got. It's double-sided, and it has 15 Christian affirmations. And I read these for every morning when I'm doing my morning meditation and motivation routine. And so I want to go ahead and share these with you. And then again, I'll link to this. I'll write them in the description on
All right.
this video. Okay. So here we
Sounds
go.
good.
Number one, Lord God, I was created by you and put on this earth for a purpose. I belong to you. Number two, Jesus is first in my life. He's my Lord and Savior, and I exist to serve him. Number three, my goal today is unbroken fellowship with God. It is impossible for me to be happy unless I'm in close fellowship with God. Number four, I love my family and I will lay down my life for them. Number five, my children will love God and serve him with their whole hearts. I will love them, discipline them, encourage them, and equip them to be strong in the Lord and do great things for his kingdom. Number 6, my voice in my child's life is the most powerful voice they hear. Number 7, I am growing closer to Jesus every day. I am called, anointed, equipped, and empowered to make a difference in this world for Christ. Number 8, the Word of God is the most powerful force in the universe. Therefore, I will live by it and use it to my advantage. Number 9, I embrace the process and the season God has me in. Number 10, I will wake up with purpose, direction, and meaning every day of my life. Number 11, I am disciplined. Christ in me is stronger than the wrong desires in me. Number 12, God loves me so much and has blessed me beyond measure. I am grateful and thankful today. Number 13, I live in the favor of God and have so much Holy Spirit power on the inside of me that anything is possible. Number 14, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And number 15, the world will be different and better because I serve Jesus today. And one of the things I said, these are 15 affirmations that you say that helps program your mind to live in a certain way. What is the benefit of this? What is the 2 greatest commandments? To love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love one another as Jesus has loved us, right? And God came to earth in the form of man. That was Jesus Christ. And he died on the cross to atone for our sins because man is sinful. And so you have to go back to the Bible story of Adam and Eve to understand what happened in the Garden of Eden and why sin entered the earth. And it was that disconnect from God that we've been suffering ever since. And all you have to do is look around the planet and say, look, the planet is dying, and it is. And all of the sins of man have been progressively getting worse since the beginning of time. So we're not going to talk about all that stuff, but we are talking about how we live today in this world. And all you have to do is make observations of good and evil, and you can say, okay, there's something powerful going on here between opposing forces of good and evil. Yes. And so however you want to categorize where that comes from, there's source for both of those things. And according to biblical scripture, which is 2,000 years old plus, then the New Testament is 2,000 years old. The Old Testament is even older than that. We're talking 3,000-4,000 years of content. Right. There's a lot of weight to be given to the belief that this is valid because it's been around for thousands of years, right? So this is why they call them ancient scriptures. And so if you take that and boil it down to some simple rules, here's 15 simple ways to live your life. And if you do this, you're being obedient to God and his commands, which is like, hey, don't lie, cheat, steal, kill, don't have fornication, get married, be loyal to your spouse, right? And do right by other people. This is a good way to live. And so that's why I wanted to share this with the audience today. All right, so that's the mental mindset preparation on how you should frame your mind to think and operate in your daily life. And this is why I have it included in my morning motivation and meditation. So now I'm going to turn it over to you because I think you have something to share. We've already covered physical wellness, we've covered mental wellness, and now I think you're going to take over and do the spiritual wellness piece.
Yep. Yes, I will.
Okay.
So for the spiritual piece, we have the Center Checklist by Dr. David Jeremiah. And so there's 4 things on this checklist that I'm going to go over. I'm just going to read through them.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about it after. So the first one is, are you gladly identified with Christ, or do you feel concerned by calling yourself a Christian to others? The second is, do you recognize Jesus as the authority in your life, or are you still trying to sit in the captain's seat? The third, do you have a deep sense of personal and spiritual security, or do you feel worried about your personal or your spiritual salvation in eternity? The fourth, do you feel peace and restfulness in Christ as the master of your destiny, or do you feel restlessness and anxiety about your future?
Cool.
So if these are 4 things that I'm assuming is for us to hold ourselves accountable and for us to ask ourselves on a daily basis, are we living by these ways? Do we feel anxiety about our future? Why do we feel anxiety? We shouldn't be feeling anxious if we have a strong faith. And I think it all boils down to us having stronger faith. And this is a good way for us to keep ourselves in check.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a great barometer just to ensure that we're walking in alignment with God, and that we make sure we do that every now and then, right? You could do it on a
Mhm.
daily basis, or you could just check in every now and then, read
Yeah.
that context and say, hey, okay, I think I'm doing good here, or if not, okay, maybe I need to spend a little bit more time with God. Maybe I need to put on a little bit more Christian music. Right? Maybe I need to go
Right.
to a Bible study,
Right. Right.
sharpen the saw, read the Bible, open up the book and read the good book, or read another book that talks about the book, so that you
Yep.
can have some perception, like a different perceptual view.
Right.
So cool. Okay, so that we've covered the physical, mental, and spiritual wellness, and then the next thing that I have on the list is entrepreneurship lesson, and this comes from the Harvard Business School's entrepreneurship program. This was so you want to be an entrepreneur, how to get started, and then there was 11 characteristics of successful entrepreneurs. On the last session, we introduced number one, which is curiosity. In this one today, we're going to introduce structured experimentation. So let me read what it has on here.
All
With
right.
curiosity, with curiosity comes the need for structured experimentation. As new opportunities arise, an entrepreneur must conduct market research and run tests to determine whether they're worth pursuing. So here's the thing: when you're in business, there's things are changing all the time. If you look at McDonald's, Burger
Yeah.
King, Wendy's, they've all changed the face of their business
Yeah.
multiple times over the years, over the last 50 years. So why do they give themselves a facelift, and why do they change their menu, and why do they change the interior design? It's because they need to stay relevant, and our desires
Yes.
change. We always want what's fresh and what's new. And so if you do the same thing in your business, look at how they're changing. Look at the emerging trends in the marketplace and see how you can adopt those emerging trends. Okay, so that's market research. Looking at the horizon and seeing what's coming up on the horizon. What's avant-garde?
Right.
What's the new cutting edge?
What's
And
the next?
then
Yep.
the next thing, right? And then you adopt it in your business. Okay, so you try it out. Maybe you've got 20 stores. You're going to try just one before you launch it on all 20 and see how it does. So do a little test
Right.
and go from
That's
there.
right.
Mm-hmm. So that's what they mean by structured experimentation. So I think that's a really good lesson
Yes, I agree.
for the audience here too. Okay, and then you are going to introduce influence, right? A lesson on influence.
Yes, I will. Let me pull up my notes real quick for this.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'll just tee it up. So,
All right.
so Sebastian is going to introduce the 7 principles of influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini. He's a psychotherapist or a social psychologist, and he wrote a book on influence, right? And so these 7 principles of influence that we're going to discuss over the next coming weeks, Sebastian's going to introduce those 7 principles to you. And they help you by building influence, right? By understanding the psychology of the mind.
Yeah. So, let's see. All right. So it says that these 7 principles of influence are authority, social proof, sympathy, reciprocity, consistency, and unity.
Perfect. And like I said, we're going to be unpacking each one of those 7 principles and how you can use them in your business to influence people. Now, we want you to be responsible and influence people in a good way that's good for
Yes.
them, okay? Not in an abusive, controlling way. All right,
Right.
so Charlie Vega's here, man. He's inside of the studio.
Yeah, I
And
see. I see.
let's go ahead and add Charlie to the stream here. And so
Tell me if this works with the light or not better.
oh yeah,
light
put it back on. Put it
Yes.
back on.
There. And then there's a brighter one
Yep.
or
Yep.
brighter. I have one more setting.
Oh, okay. I
Which
like
one
the
you
second. The second one I think is a little bit better.
Second one? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Yep. Hey man, are you're out there by the pool today?
I'm out by the pool because the room would be too dark, I think. The lighting in there is not real good.
Oh,
And everything else is over at the condo. So,
okay.
yeah. So,
Cool,
hey
man.
guys, how are you?
Good. It's good to see you,
good.
Charlie. Thank you so much for having us. So everybody, Charlie Vega is a attorney that I went to law school with at Florida Coastal School of Law. He lives in Daytona Beach, and he has a very, very successful and growing law firm in Daytona Beach. He's actually expanding into multiple different areas throughout Florida. And so it's a real honor, a real privilege to have Charlie here with us today. Thank you, Charlie, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Super awesome. So Charlie, we've got 5 questions that we have lined up for you that we covered, that we discussed, Sebastian and I. And Sebastian's, I'll go ahead and start the first question, and then we'll just talk. We'll let you talk about, after you answer these questions, whatever you want to throw in there as well. Please, feel free to do so, Charlie. Okay, buddy?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So question number 1 is, what does your morning routine look like, Charlie?
All right.
Okay, this is the truth, buddy. Okay, you gotta throw it all out there, man.
The truth is, you have to look at what your schedule is for the day.
Okay.
Most of my day is taken up with consultations or meetings internally, externally. So I like to know what my day looks like. A lot of times I look at it the night before on my phone to see where we're at, and then I try to go through the emails. If I can get through them in the morning from the day before, or whatever I didn't get done the day before, I'll try to get through it. So I try to leave my mornings not having a meeting until 10 o'clock. I give myself the morning till 10 o'clock to try to get organized, catch up on email, maybe make some phone calls, whether it's internally or externally.
Okay. Sebastian, is your question next?
All right. So the next question is, what is the most important lesson you've learned about your profession?
You can't do it alone.
That's a good one.
That's a great piece of advice for all aspects.
What I found was that I thought at the beginning attorneys would be very competitive, and some of them are, but most of the attorneys that I've met are willing to help, particularly when you're starting out. So I could say that I've developed a lot of relationships with other attorneys that I use as mentors and the go-to people for advice, because even when you think you're good at something, there's always something that comes up that you need some insight from someone else that maybe has some more experience with it. Yeah. So I found that I found it to be a great avenue to talk to people and talk to other attorneys, where I didn't think it would be like that. I thought it would be much more competitive.
So Charlie, did you have to pay them to work with them as your mentors, or were they giving it to you for free?
No, it was for free. I mean, they wanted to help out any way they could, and they did.
Wow, that's amazing. I hear a plane flying into your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Charlie lives in a flying community. So
Charlie, did you call your jet? Did you just call your private jet?
I don't have a plane, though.
He has to borrow the neighbors.
Right.
He's trying to leave the podcast too soon.
Yeah, right? No.
That's for like 25 more minutes.
Let's call the tower. Let's call the control tower and tell him that
exactly.
he's not clear to leave, right?
Yeah. That's what happens when you do something outside. You never know what's going to happen, right? It looked like it was going to rain or not. I'm like, well, let's give it a shot. I was talking to my wife about it.
Well, it looks amazing. And a month ago, well, even in some places, it's still like 50 degrees out. So some of our viewers will be watching this and they'll be thinking, God, look at these guys in Florida. If they decide to come down, I'll be happy to sell them a house. and Charlie could do the closing.
Absolutely.
And Sebastian will put them in personal training when they get here.
Exactly.
So that's cool, Charlie. So you're lucky that you got mentors, and that's great advice for anybody who's starting out. Like, it doesn't matter what your profession is, what industry you work in, go find a mentor. There's a saying that this professor that I had in grad school at FIU, he said, in Greece, this guy was from Greece, right? He said, in Greece, there's a saying, if you don't have somebody with gray hair on your team, go find one.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's really something now? People are calling me.
Well, look at that.
What do you think about it, right? So, it's actually a compliment, so I'm happy to help. And
so that's awesome. So you're paying it forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. That's awesome. So I know who to call to when I get my bar license, right, Charlie?
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So Charlie, the next question that I have for you is, what's one piece of advice about building influence? And now I believe that you are an expert at influence because you're all over the place, man. So what's one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's starting out as an entrepreneur in this business, they're graduating from law school and they're going to open up their own practice? How are they, what's one piece of advice that you'll give them about building influence?
Well, the first thing is I'll say not only in law and the industry in law, but just about any industry is I would say you have to build a good reputation. So just treat people like you want to be treated. Be honest with them. If you can do it, do it. If you can't do it, tell them that I can't do it, but maybe I can get somebody that can. But I think being honest and upfront with everybody that you're working with and developing that professionalism comes across no matter what industry you're in. And I will relate a lot of that success from my reputation in different types of industries that I worked before. Even though I wasn't an attorney at the time, I still get a lot of calls from people that know me that say, hey, I heard you started your own firm. Can you help me? Now, if I can, I certainly will. But I think the reality of it is that you have to treat people with respect to earn it. You earn people's respect and help people if you can. And that integrity is the most important thing. And one thing that I've heard several times over, which I think is so true, is the only person that can give away integrity is you. Wow. So if you think about that a minute, everybody, I call it getting kicked in the head. Everybody has downs, gets kicked in the head once in a while and you got to get back up. But your integrity is the only thing you can control is your integrity. And to me, that's the most important thing in any profession. And that's something that is number one on my list with myself and my team. And we try to strive to that every day for everybody that calls, whether they're a client or not.
That's excellent advice, Charlie. Integrity is critical. It can. There's another saying that it takes years to build up trust and only seconds to destroy it.
Absolutely, right. Mm-hmm. And trying to rebuild that could take so long. It could take years. Who knows if it ever gets built?
If it ever gets rebuilt, you burn somebody and then they're gone forever. Generally,
it's kind of like when we go to a place that people don't usually brag about a place unless it's over the top. But they'll certainly complain about any restaurant or something else to 10 people. But they might compliment one person, but they'll tell 10 people how awful that dinner was. Right?
Yep.
And that's with any industry. It's the same thing. People are easy to complain, but very rare they'll compliment. So you got to make sure you're on your game all the time.
So that's important. So always do a fantastic job and put customer service first, right? Top priority, treat people right.
And also, if you make a mistake, we've had it. Nobody's perfect. We forget to call somebody back because we got busy that day. We call them and say, hey, look, we apologize. We should have called you yesterday. But, and you ante up to it and you say, I've done it. I'm sorry. Let's move forward. How can I help you? Whatever it may be, don't make silly excuses that people are going to go see right through. It's better to just say, hey, look, I'm sorry. I really forgot to call you yesterday. We were really busy. I apologize for that, but how can I help you today? So
own your mistakes.
That goes back to being upfront with everyone and having that transparency.
Absolutely.
So go back to it. So your influence has already been established from your character and from the work that you've done in the past. And so you've been able to attract business, and we call that is your sphere of influence. You're able to attract people from your sphere of influence. So in addition to your sphere of influence, which is fantastic that you're able to do that, and you've got experience, whereas like a young person who's 26 years old coming out of law school, they haven't been in the workforce yet. They haven't really had those experiences in that big. Maybe they have a sphere. Everybody has a sphere, right? I mean, even your inner circles, your mom and dad and your siblings, if you have them, right? But outside of that and your college buds and so forth, then, or maybe you're bartending at a restaurant while or serving at a restaurant while you're in law school, and so your sphere is being established at that time too. But outside of those things, like what have you done to build influence and to amplify your message? Like just out of the gate when you opened up your practice, Charlie Vega, PA. What did you start doing outside of talking to your sphere of influence? What would you recommend a new lawyer do to to get to build some influence, to get some people to come in and start paying attention?
So we had about a year before the pandemic hit, before, everyone was kind of grounded to their house. Uh, so I actually went to every networking event that I possibly could, whether it was the Chamber of Commerce or the Lawyers Association. I joined all the different groups, Volusia County Bar Association. I'm on the board for trial lawyers. I mean, so you join these things to get your name out there for people to know who you are.
Mhm.
And again, now you're making new contacts, and they might say, "Hey, I don't do family law, but Charlie Vega does," or
Mhm.
"We don't do civil litigation, but call this guy." And
Mhm.
a lot of the referrals we get are actually from some of the larger firms where their rates are much higher,
Mhm.
and they'll call and they get sticker shock, and they'll
Wow.
say, "Hey, call Charlie Vega. He's a lot less, but he's really good. He'll be straight up with you." And we get a lot of calls
Great.
like that, you know. So what I did up front was I did that. Now we didn't really advertise. I haven't really advertised much since we started.
Mhm.
We've been lucky enough that the phone has been ringing. Um, but I think going forward now, I will tell you that we're looking at different ways to obtain or acquire more high net worth clients. So
Okay.
we've got some things in the works that we're doing with that. But once the pandemic hit, it was a matter of staying on communication via email or making phone calls, things like that.
Okay. And you have, I know you've done other podcasts besides this one, right? That was part of your marketing plan?
I've been on probably at least a dozen. I've
Wow.
got several magazines. We've been on some TV. There's a ton of places we've been. And how that helps is not only getting your name out there, but it also helps when you post it on your website and you tie the websites together. Now these spiders that check websites get connected, and
Oh,
you get
that's
more
brilliant.
hits on your website from doing that.
Mhm.
So
Right.
after we're done with this call, I'll be connecting my website to yours via your logo and
Now he has
adding
another
to all of
nice
that.
web.
and round we go.
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't always have to be things that are outside. There are other companies that will work on your website to get bigger hits. I did some of that. It was kind of expensive, and I didn't really see much results from that, so I
Okay.
discontinued it. But
I've heard the
I
same
had
from other
I
lawyers.
just had another podcast Monday morning. So I'm
Hmm.
probably doing one or two a month right now.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and here's another thing: we have a public relations person who gets us on some of these shows.
Is that
So
an
we
is
have
that
a
outs
PR.
is that
It's
PR
outsourced.
person?
It's an outsourced individual who has
Okay.
it's a proprietor. It's a single lady. She's doing her own thing,
Okay.
and she's trying to get her business going. So it was kind of a good match, and she gave us a good rate, and she's been doing that for over 2 years now for us.
Are you willing to share her information to give her some business from anybody who's listening who's thinking about doing the same thing too? Or are you keeping her close to your pocket?
Right now, I'll say I'll keep close to the pocket for now.
Okay. Okay.
Without her permission, I don't want to give out.
Can't rejoice.
All right. You let us know, and then we can add it to the show notes later on in the
Sure.
future. Okay. Cool. Just sharing the love. You know what I mean? So Charlie, that's awesome. I think that the podcast strategy is great for exposure, and it helps to amplify your message, right? Because if nobody knows who you are, they don't know to call you for your
Right.
services. And so you got to get your name out there. And so, like, outside of having a sphere of influence like you do, which is fantastic, new people need to learn these skills. Like, they don't teach this in law school, right?
Now, well, and here's another thing that comes to mind is I was a pro bono attorney of the year for last year for 2021 for
Congratulations on
Volusia
that.
County.
That's awesome.
Wow.
You know,
Congratulations.
so not only does that get me to meet other attorneys, but it also gets practice and it helps the community. It's kind of a win-win all the way around, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just another way of promoting your business, and people know who you are, and more
Spread the
referrals,
word of
really.
mouth.
And it looks
Yeah.
really nice as an accolade, right?
Absolutely, sure.
That's awesome. So you got the PR person that's doing some stuff for you. I know that your wife is your office manager now. Is she
Yeah,
still working?
she does billing.
She does
Uh,
billing too. Okay. Did she do any of this outreach, or is that you, or is that just your third party that you got
No,
doing that?
that's true. It's my third party and myself.
Okay.
Uh, My wife is strictly billing and helps with the office staff.
So now I'm curious, Charlie. I'm going to dig into your past, man. Did you learn these skills in your prior work life?
Well, the prior companies I worked for, I was usually in a leadership position in marketing and sales. So yes, I would say I brought that to the table, which is different for somebody who's right out of law school. They don't have those skill sets on how to market yourself and how to talk to an executive. And, you have to, as depending who you're talking to, there's a different conversation. If you're talking to the president of a company, you've probably got 20 minutes, if anything, to talk to them. You got the middle manager; they're happy to talk to you all day long. They're getting paid anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah. So understanding what to say and how to say it to different people, it comes with experience and knowing how to market your company, no matter what the product is, does help when you've done it before in other companies.
Wow.
Okay, so a lot of this stuff was learning on the job. You probably learned from your mentors in those prior positions, and then also through some formalized training, right? At those
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah. Okay, and then did you do any of your own outreach? Did your own research on these topics, like brand building and so forth, and influence building?
Not right now. No, I pretty much by this time I should know it pretty well.
You could write a book.
Matter of fact, I did.
Well, yeah, we want that book, Charlie.
It's called 1001 Professional Sales Tips.
Are you serious?
I am serious, yeah.
Oh, come on, man. I didn't realize that. Is it on Amazon?
No, actually, I want to put it on there. I haven't had time.
Okay. Well, you got to send me do you have a PDF that you can send me so I can read it, Charlie?
Sure. Yeah,
awesome,
I do.
Man. Listen, man, you've got to get that out there so we can share it with our audience. That's awesome. I'm dying to read this book now. Have you sent one to Glossia? Does she even know that you have this?
I don't know. I don't think I talked to her about it.
Oh, okay. Come on. I bet she would be interested in reading it too, because she has an MBA as well, right? In addition to the law degree. So yeah, you got to share this with us, okay?
Yep.
That's awesome. Charlie wrote a book. Cool. Okay. I'm making a note here to get this book from you. I'm going to hold you to it.
All right.
Awesome. All right. So I think Sebastian has another question for you. I think we drilled that one down all the way to the woods. So Sebastian, what's your question?
Right. Yeah. So the next question is going to be, did you always want to work in your industry? And if not, what did you want to work in originally?
Well, I'll say early on when I've always thought about being an attorney, but no one in my family ever was an attorney. I thought it was unreachable.
Wow.
As a kid, are we still on?
We're still here. Yeah, we're still
Okay.
here. He did that to me earlier, and I got confused. I was like, man, am I alone?
I'm giving you the floor.
As a kid, I wanted to be a doctor. And then when I got older, I'll say in my teens, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. That was my goal, was to be a fighter pilot, join the Air Force and be a fighter pilot. And my mom and dad were against it because her best friend's brother had been killed in wartime. And she was really against it. So I didn't do it for that reason. And then I kind of just I got my undergraduate for business and kind of fell to a job and was successful in marketing and sales. And I've been always in the back of my mind, I thought, I still want to be an attorney. Yeah. And then at some point I just said, either do it now or it's never going to happen. And that's when I decided to make that move.
That's amazing. So you came to a point where you knew you had to make a decision and you just went full
well, and I couldn't do it earlier because there was no law school that was close to where I lived, so I would have had to move. And at the time, I was married with 2 kids, so it really wasn't possible.
Okay, but how far back was it that you wanted to go? Like, where was the seed planted the first time that you thought, you know what, maybe I can be a lawyer one day? Do you remember that first?
Yeah, I did. I was probably about 24 years old when I decided to look into it. Mm-hmm. And then at the time, I got married at 23. My kids were at 25. I looked into it. There wasn't a local school. I would have had to move. So I put it off aside for a couple of more years. And then I even took the LSAT. And then I didn't actually do anything after that. And I always had it in the back of my mind, and I just never took another step until later. Yeah, I'll
Wow.
say after I worked for some companies.
So how long was it? You took the LSAT, and then you took it again later on to get into law school. Like you took
Yeah,
it,
like 20 years later.
Me too, Charlie. Me too, man. That's so freaking funny. I took it the first
Wow.
time was in 2002 in Richmond, Virginia, and then I took it again in two more times after that. But that 2010 and
I didn't even know what I was
2014.
getting myself into. I had never even talked to somebody who went to law. I mean, other than one attorney I knew through a cousin of mine,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody. I mean, that
Mhm.
wasn't even a close friend. That was just somebody I talked to once in a while. But
Mhm.
it was
But
just that. Here's the best way I can relay that to. As a kid, and Sebastian may be different for his age group, but in our age group, do you remember going to the dentist or a doctor's office and had a little glass window and they'd slide that glass window open and
yeah,
they'd say, okay, you're here. And it would be like, what's behind that glass door? Oh, that's a doctor or a lawyer
yeah,
behind it.
Yeah,
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 Oh, so
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of what we grew up with,
yeah, yeah.
So it's not that way today, but then it was like, hey,
It was
this
a
is the
big
way it
deal.
is,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yep.
So I didn't think it was possible. And then, like I said, 20 years later, I took it again and got accepted into law school. So,
That's
Wow.
awesome. Well, there's a book called "Where There's a Will, There's a Way," and I 100% affirm that is true. If you have something like a desire, passionate desire, you can find a way to do it. And even if you can't get into a traditional law school, you can do a non-traditional law school these days. And as a matter of fact, there's still 5 states that you can work as an apprentice for 5 years for an attorney and be eligible to take the bar exam.
wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's old law. So yeah. So there's a way, man. Well, there's a way.
Yep.
So that's awesome, Charlie. I feel the same way too, man. I went to my grandmother's real estate closing when she moved. She sold her house in Georgia and moved to Florida to be close to my family. And I was there at that like at 11 years old, and I thought, wow, this attorney is really really cool. I really was impressed by him. I was like, I want to be that guy. Do real estate closings. Still trying to work on that one there. Want to add that to the services to the real estate company. All right, and so that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Charlie. I think Sebastian has another question for you now. Yeah, or
Uh,
is it my turn?
I think it is. I think it's your turn.
Okay. All right. So the next question that I have for you, Charlie, is if you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would go back and say, you don't think you can do it, but you can. And don't stop until you get there. Because one of the things I did do was in my undergraduate, I had a family when I was going to night school again, doing that, and I stopped a couple of times. And I think doing that, things get in the way. I
Mhm.
shouldn't have done that. I would have said, keep on going, get it done, continue on, and don't take any breaks.
Mhm.
Wow.
Awesome. Awesome.
Basically, to believe in yourself and to follow.
Yeah, but here's the other thing too, is that one of the things that I found particularly going to law school was I was out of school for 20 years. So when I went back, it was hard to study,
Yeah.
meaning that when you read for pleasure, meaning you don't expect to be tested on the news 3 pages down, right? So,
Right.
but when you read for a school, particularly law school, you have to know what you're reading and be able to regurgitate it back to be able to answer any questions, which is a different kind of reading than
Right.
passive reading when you're reading just the newspaper and you know what's going on in the community or the world.
Yeah.
Someone's not going, hey, who was the person that got elected in France last week? It doesn't happen.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when you're studying, it's a mode that you get into and you have to stay in that mode. And when you take a break, like I did in my undergraduate, you get out of that mode. And it
Right.
becomes, it's hard to get back into it. So I know when I went to law school, I said, I'm not taking any breaks. I'm going to go on and on. I mean, we even took intercession classes in law school, which are classes between classes when you have like a week or two between classes. So I didn't take a break on purpose because I didn't want to fall behind, and I didn't want to take a break where I would get unmotivated for whatever reason or give an excuse.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like fitness, like in the gym, because your brain's a muscle. So it's like when you go out of the gym for a year, like people take a break from school for a year, their brain's not going to be retaining the information the same way as if
Yeah.
you were continuously doing it every day. That muscle is has muscle memory, but it can forget a lot. So and sometimes we
Yeah.
underestimate how much it can really forget and how much harder it's going to be when you start again. So
And once you stop, I remember once I stopped. Now, keep in mind, I drove 180 miles a day to go to law school, 90 miles each way. So
wow.
I would leave and come home. I'd leave law school at 9 o'clock or 9:30, drive an hour to get home, around 15 minutes, and go to bed and start it all over again. So my evenings were all always taken through school. And if I wasn't in class, I was studying. So when I was completely done, I felt like I was on vacation, even though I was still working during I I
Right.
had an evening free. I was so
Right.
used to for 4 years going this routine that just
Nonstop.
having one night to myself was like a treat.
Wow.
It
Yeah,
sounds
that's an
silly, but
insane
that's
work
what
ethic. Yeah.
happened, you know?
That's
So that's awesome, Charlie. I remember the Christmas breaks were about a month long, and you could get lost in yourself. I checked out books at the library that they were voluminous, and I would
Oh
do
yeah.
those. I would do that reading on my own just to learn about a
Mhm.
certain area of the law, like franchise law, for instance, was when I read about law, individual law practice. Those were things that I filled my mind with it during the Christmas breaks. I was studying, but it wasn't classes like you did. You took intercession class, so you had about a week before a week before and a week after, so you didn't have a whole month off like everybody else did. And
Correct.
I think that it's valuable to keep your mind active during that break because a month is a long time, and you come
It is.
back and you're lost. It's hard to get back into the routine,
Yeah.
so you got to keep the. There's a lot to say about momentum. I like Dr. John Maxwell. He talks
yeah.
about momentum a lot, and I think that's what you're preaching here, Charlie. Is that you just kept the momentum going because once energy in motion stays in motion, energy at rest wants to stay at rest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Charlie, what's one interesting thing about yourself that people from law school wouldn't know, like people that you meet your clients wouldn't know about you, but something that Sebastian and I do know about you? What's one thing about
Oh, yeah.
what's
Yeah.
one thing about
Yeah,
what's
I
one
was
thing
going to
about
say most people don't know that I'm a fifth degree black belt in
Woo!
combat, and um, it's something I love to do, and it's one of those things where I don't think I look mean, but I know how to hurt people.
Just in case a client wants to get rough
So,
with you, right? They
I
better
kind
think
of be
twice
like,
about that one.
hey, hey, get away, look, don't bother me, really don't bother me, and then just take their head off,
That's awesome. You said fifth degree black belt of was it Taekwondo? You said.
I have a first degree in Taekwondo. I have a fifth degree in what's called Hapkido, Hapkido. It's still a Korean style, but it's much more circular, kind of like Aikido with Steven
Oh yeah,
Seagal, the circular motion redirection. Um,
nice.
but yeah, that's something unless like you, people like yourself that know me pretty well don't know that's
That's
something I really enjoy doing.
That's super awesome, Charlie. Well, listen, we're not going to take any more of your time. It's been such an honor to have you on our show, Charlie, and we appreciate you so much, buddy. Thank you for coming
Thank
on
you.
tonight, man. And
My pleasure.
we wish you continued success. How many lawyers do you have working for you now, Charlie? How many cases do you have, Charlie? Real quick.
We're close to 100. I have 4 other attorneys, 4 legal assistants, a private investigator, and a staff.
Woo! That is amazing, Charlie. I'm so proud of you, my friend. You're crushing
Thank
it,
you.
man.
I appreciate it.
You are the poster boy for law graduates, man. Killing it.
And he's a fifth degree. I mean, man, he's like Batman. You think he's just average
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, and then all of a sudden the night comes and he's Batman.
He's Steven Seagal of the law.
Seriously.
All right, Charlie. Thanks again for coming on tonight, buddy.
My pleasure, guys. Good talking to you. Take care.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow, Sebastian, that was a great show tonight, huh?
Yes. Yes. I agree.
Woo! I'm so glad that Charlie was able to come on and join us tonight, man. He's awesome. He's really
Great.
he's a great soul. He's a really really great soul, great person. So that wraps it up for us, guys. We're here at almost 8:30 now, and we don't have anybody live on the show to ask questions. Our intention is to open up the last 15 minutes for Q&A or 5 minutes for Q&A, and we don't have anybody on. But so we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up there. And Sebastian, do you have any final thoughts before we go?
No, I think we went over everything pretty well. I think it was a great episode, and I think Charlie was amazing. We learned a lot about him, and he taught us a lot about like our perspective. Kind of going back to those 3 books that I had recommended when you asked me about that in our first episode. It's all about our mentality, and like him going back to tell his 18-year-old self, go work harder than you are right now, work even harder, keep the momentum going, believe in yourself, because in the end it'll pay off. And so in the moment we might not think that things are where we want them to be, but usually when we're in a hard time, that's because God is pulling the arrow back to shoot us forward, to open up something better for us. So I think we've learned
That's
a
a
lot
good
this
analogy.
about keeping our mentality in check.
Awesome. That's a good analogy, and you're right. And confidence is such an important thing, and a lot of people have low self-esteem.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to share an assessment that you can do. I have an assessment that I found online, and it will show you where you're at in your self-esteem, right? And it's like the first step is acknowledgement, right? Find where your faults are. And 2 is correction, right? You don't have to stay stuck. And confidence is a critical thing to carry with you in life. For it affects everything. It affects how you carry yourself, and it affects the activities that you do, and it even affects the persons that you're with, right?
Absolutely.
When you have low self-esteem, you respond to other people.
You bring them down. You bring everyone down.
Or you think there's like an ulterior motive, or they're out against you, and they're not against you. It's just the way that you're perceiving the world. And
it's a chain. It's a whole chain of events. You have a whole bunch of negative thoughts, and then you go down the rabbit hole, and it's terrible. And you don't feel good, and you don't make anyone else around you feel good. You gotta make the choice. I want to be happy. I want to think positive and think again and think a different way.
Love it. You brought think again in. That's awesome, Sebastian. That is awesome, man. Kudos to you for that. That's awesome.
I saw the opportunity right there. I saw the opportunity.
That was great, Sebastian. You know what? That right there, what you just did, is called application. And it's like knowledge without application is useless. It's powerless. It's the application of the knowledge that you get that gives you power. And you just did application. So good. High five, Sebastian.
Thank you.
That is awesome, man. Well, thank you guys for joining us on the Entrefluential Life Podcast. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Until then, God bless you guys. Go out there and crush it and be awesome entrepreneurs that I know you are. Take care, everyone.
Good night. Thank you for coming.
Bye-bye. And don't forget, you're our #1 entrefluencer.
Yes. And #1 podcast listener.
Woo!
Every one of you is #1. There's no number 2s.
Chips for everybody.
Oh, man.
Bye, guys.
Bye. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.